Yeah. So till now we have discussed about the behind what is the business intelligence, the high level architecture of the business intelligence, how it happens in the industries. And then we went on to discuss about the Power BI software in specific and about its components, the building blocks of Power BI. And we also saw the three views of Power BI. And also we just had a look at the GUI interface of the Power BI. Within that, we also saw how the Power Query is visible. And also, we tried to connect with the different data sources yesterday, okay, like Excel files, CSV files, and we tried connecting with the SQL Server database. We tried to get one data from the web, and also MySQL, and also Access database. So this is what we did till now. So let's start with the today's class. So just a second. Uh, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, my connection into it went off suddenly. So I hope everyone can see the screen as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Today we'll start with the storage modes in Power BI, or the mode in which we can get the data into the Power BI, or basically we also call it as different ways of importing the data into Power BI. So the first one is the import mode, wherein Power BI uses a thing called as Vertipack compressor. Now, what happens in import mode is that Power BI basically creates a cache memory. It brings the data into the Power BI desktop, and it stores that cache memory into the Power BI desktop itself. For example, let me show you that. Let's say if we try to get the data, and let's say from SQL Server, and yeah, let me enter the server name. And let me get the database name as well. Now you can see that there are two data connectivity modes. Can you see this? One says import and another says direct query. Okay. So when I first, let me show how it happens in the import mode. So first I selected import mode now. I'll click on OK. It's trying to connect. Okay. Now it shows me the tables which are available within that particular database, that is AdventureWorks 2019. Let me select some of the tables from this. Let me think. Yeah. Okay. So let me try directly loading this into Power BI. It'll take a bit of time for loading the tables into the Power BI. Okay. Now that the data has been loaded, the thing is that will appear in this right pane. Can you see the table names here? The tables which I have selected to be brought in from that particular SQL database are appearing here. Now, the thing about this import mode, as I said, is that now these tables are into the Power BI desktop itself. Okay, it has not just established the connection with the SQL, it has brought those tables from SQL into the Power BI desktop literally. And when I say literally, I also mean that it has not just brought in the data, but it has also compressed that data. It has compressed that data by using this engine called as Vertipack compressor engine, which which is a part of Power BI. Okay, so here, for example, let me give you an example in this particular scenario. Let's say in the backend SQL database, if you make certain changes, okay, if you make certain changes to certain tables, those will not be immediately reflected here. Those will be reflected here only if you refresh this particular data. If you don't refresh this data will remain same no matter what changes you do on the backend SQL side. Is this concept clear now? What is meant by import mode?
Yes. Suppose if any changes happens in the SQL side, how you can do the refresh?
See, there is a
Well,
simple refresh button. Okay, can you see this? That can be done. Okay,
yes.
but that
Oh,
we'll see later. Okay, but the matter of fact is that the point to be understood here is that in the import mode, Power BI, it literally brings the table from the source to the Power BI itself. Okay, and stores this in the cache memory, and basically it compresses this data by using Vertipack compressor engine. Hope this point is clear.
yes, Pawan. Yes.
Any changes that have been done in the backend will not reflect here until and unless we make refresh to this particular file. Okay, so this is about import mode. And the things to be noted in import mode are, in import mode, you can see the data view in the sense you can see those particular tables. Okay, can you see this? If I click on the data view and on these queries or tables on the right hand side, those particular tables will be visible. Okay, and not just that, you'll be able to create the calculated columns we create in the DAX. But right now you just know the fact that in import mode, we can create the calculated columns by right clicking here and doing new, selecting new column. Okay, and also all the time intelligence functions can be used when we use the import mode. All the DAX functions which are available to be used in Power BI can be used in import mode. Also, all the functions within Power Query Editor can be used when we are using import mode. Okay, so this is about the import mode. Okay, now let's talk about one more mode that is nothing but the direct query mode. Okay, so for that, what I'll do, I'll just open one more Power BI. So this is open. Now I'll try to get the data again. And again, I'll go with the SQL Server. And here again, I'll mention the server name and the database that I want to get in. And now, instead of import mode, I'll select direct query, which is available here. And I'll click on OK. And once I do that, again, I'll be asked what tables you want, okay, in direct query mode. So I'll select some tables, okay. And I'll click on load. Okay. Now, again, you can see the tables that we have brought in the right panel. The thing about this is that now that I have used the direct query mode, here, the Power BI, it has not brought these tables from SQL to Power BI. What it has done instead is it has just established a connection between Power BI and SQL Server. Okay, that is direct query mode. In this, I mean, the meaning is it has not brought in the data and compressed it like it did in the import mode. Instead, it has just established the connection with the existing SQL server. And the important thing that is to be noted here is that whatever changes that happen in the backend or in SQL with respect to any of these tables will be reflected immediately in the Power BI. You need not go here and, press refresh. The refresh will happen automatically whenever anything changes in the backend. Hope this is clear.
Yes, yes.
The prime difference between direct query and import mode. I hope this is clear. Yeah.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay.
So what would be the prepared approach in the industry?
I'll come to that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But right now, you just make sure you have understood the concept of difference between the two modes. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
And this is one of the most asked question in the interviews. They will definitely ask you what are the different modes of storage or the different import modes, and have you worked on them? Okay. Now we'll go on to more elaborate differences between these two. Okay. Now, if you see here in the direct query mode, there are only two views. One is the report view, and there is a model view. Okay. And here, you don't find the data view. Can you? You cannot. Whereas the data view, it was present when we used import view. Okay. But it is not there in the direct query mode. Okay. And some of the important things are that the usage of Power Query Editor, it becomes limited in case of direct query mode. The usage of DAX functions becomes limited in case of direct query mode. Also, the usage of time intelligence functions also is restricted. You cannot use time intelligence functions when you are using direct query mode. Okay, so these are the differences, but Microsoft says you can use direct query mode when there is huge data involved. Like, let's say the number of records are like 60 million, 100 million. In those scenarios, Microsoft suggests to use the direct query mode. Whereas if the magnitude of data is small, then you can go with import mode. Although using direct query mode, it brings in lots of complexities within itself. Okay, because what happens is that if you build some visuals in direct query mode, those visuals will appear a bit late, or it will it will take more time to appear on the screen sometimes if the server which is working on the back end is kind of working in a slow mode. Okay, because the data is again coming from the back end. It is just the connection. It is not in the Power BI. So these things you will face problems with while using direct query mode. Okay, but Microsoft, they recommend this if the data is huge. So you have understood the difference between the two modes now?
Yes, bro.
Okay. Now let's talk about this in more detail. Also, yeah, there are two more modes. One more mode is called as live connection. Now, live connection is very similar to direct query mode. The only difference is that in live connection, the data which is brought in or data which is connected to from Power BI is in the cube form. And cube form in the sense, it'll be we can also call it three-dimensional data model. The type of data we get from the things like Azure or also it basically is analysis service data which you get from. Okay, most of the modeling has been done on the backend, and you just bring it into the Power BI to do the reporting analysis. Such kind of data which is in the cube form, if you connect it, I mean, you can connect it with a live connection. It is very similar to direct query. Okay, and also there is one more mode which you call it as dual mode, or sometimes composite mode, or sometimes hybrid mode. Hybrid mode is one where what happens is that some of these tables you get in by direct query mode, and some of the tables, if you get it via import mode, then such a model, we call it as a hybrid model. Okay, such model, we call it as a hybrid or composite model, or it's also called as dual model. Okay, one of the things to be noted is that when you try to create the connection between the table which is being brought from direct query and the table which is being brought from the import mode, the cardinality will always be many to many. Okay, although we have not yet discussed the many to many cardinalities now, but this is the point that is to be remembered. Anyways, cardinality we'll be discussing in detail when we deal with data model part. But this is also one of the differences as far as dual mode and other modes are concerned. Okay, so this is about it. And if you talk about the differences in very much detail, these are the differences between import mode and direct query mode. Okay, so the size of the data that can be brought in, if you have premium license, in import mode, it is 10 GB per file or per data set. Whereas in direct query mode, there is no limitation on the amount of data that can be brought. Okay, and then also there are important differences, like this will be high performance query engine. High performance, the reason for high performance of the import mode is that the data is there in the Power BI, and hence there is no issue with the things like connecting it with the backend, whether the SQL server is slow or whether it is under some service. Okay, no such issues will be faced when you're using the import mode. But if you are in the direct query mode, the performance sometimes it will take a hit due to some of the network connectivity issues, and the queries are executed in real time. I mean, whenever you create certain visual, the query will be executed at that particular moment of time, so it will become a bit slow. Okay, and this point which I already discussed with you, that
Sir, per data set means in the terms of size?
per data set in the sense, let's say I'm using this file now. This file can be of 10 GB max if you have premium license. Hope that is clear.
Means my table in the PBX file, all the data set combined size should be maximum 10 GB. The PBX file size maximum 10 GB.
Exactly. Okay.
If the size is more than 10 GB, then in that case,
in that case, nowadays, actually, it's not restricted to 10 GB. In premium capacity, it's also, you can use more than 10 GB, sometimes also till 100 GB it's possible, okay, in premium. Okay, but it never goes more than 10 GB usually. But yeah.
Okay, in the Power BI desktop, premium means on the Power BI service license.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, yeah. So yeah, this point wherein I told you already that if you do any changes at the back end, those will not be reflected immediately if you are using import mode. Whereas if you use the direct query mode, those will be immediately reflected. Okay. And as far as this refreshes are concerned, maximum 48 refreshes can be scheduled per day if you are using premium capacity. Whereas if you're using the direct query mode, the schedule happens as often as there is change in the underlying data or the change in the backend data. Okay. And then as far as data transformations or Power Query editing steps are concerned, the import mode supports all transformations, and this supports only limited transformations. DAX functions, all the DAX functions are supported by import mode, but they are restricted. Some of them are restricted in direct query mode. Calculated tables are available in import mode. They are not supported in direct query mode. Quick insights are available. I'll tell you what are quick insights in upcoming classes, but they are available in import mode, but not so in query mode. So this is the elaborate differences between the storage modes in Power BI. Okay. So you can, I mean, if someone asks you the question, you can definitely tell them these answers. These are very important things as far as interview is concerned. Hope everyone has understood this concept of storage modes in the Power BI.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then we'll start with.
Yes, can you please explain live connections one again? Live connection.
Yeah. So as I said, live connection is similar to direct query. Only thing is the type of data that can be brought in is different. Type of data that can be brought in is from the services like analysis services, and it's of the cube form. Are you familiar with cube form data?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, first time I heard actually.
Come again, please.
No, I never heard this cube form data.
Yeah. So the cube form data, for that I'll have to go a bit ahead, but I'll try to explain the cube form data. So look, the cube form data, it kind of looks like this, and this whole system is called as OLAP system, which is online analysis processing system. Now let's say you have certain sales data. Okay. On the one dimension, you have these dimensions like accessories, bikes, clothing, and components. Let's call this product categories. On the other dimension, you have the timeline. What all happened from, let's say, 2015 Jan to 2015 May. And in other dimension, x-axis in this particular case, you have the measures. Now, when I say the measures, I mean the things like total sales, YTD sales, total revenue, the profit margin, all these things. So all these things together will be saved in one particular form of the data, and that particular data, we call it as data in cube form. Okay. And cube form data is, we get it from certain analysis services like Azure. And also we can make use of Visual Basics to get this form of data. Okay. So this is what cube form means. Hope this is clear now.
Yes, thank you.
You can search more about the cube form data to see how it exactly looks. Okay. So that you can definitely do, but this is what the cube data means.
Okay, okay.
Anything else apart from this? So what we'll do now is we'll start with discussing the usage of Power Query Editor, because the transformation of the data in the Power BI happens with Power Query Editor. Okay, so let's start afresh. Let's start bringing some data into the Power BI. I want to save this, and let's say I want to delete all of this. Okay. So first, let's start with the initial settings that you need to implement in order for you to learn all the transformation things that are possible within Power Query Editor. Because if you don't implement these settings, some of the implementations will be done by the Power BI itself. Okay, so for you to learn it perfectly, you first have to go to File and then Options and Settings. Within that, you need to go to Options. Okay, it takes a bit of time to get loaded. And now in Options, you have two main sections. One is Global and another is Current File, which you're seeing here. In Global, what you need to do is within Data Load, you need to select this: never detect column types and headers for unstructured sources. Okay, you need to select this. And also, you need to go to Regional Settings and make sure that it is set to English in bracket United States. Okay, and then once this is done, you should go to Current File, and under Current File there is Data Load. Okay, now you need to unselect these two things. Okay, import relationships from data sources on the first load and auto detect new relationships after the data is loaded. You need to unselect both of this. Okay, and also you need to go to Regional Settings under Current File and make sure that this is again set to English United States. Hope this thing about initial settings is clear with everyone, right?
Yes, sir.
Now I'll click on OK. Now I'll start bringing the data into the Power BI, and let's see how we can transform the data from Power BI, or let's discuss how we can do ETL within Power BI. Although it's limited, but we can do it nonetheless. So I'm going to get the data, and I'll go to text and CSV. And here I have stored these data sets. Don't worry about this. I'll share all these data sets with you for your own practice. Okay, so I'll get this orders 2017, which is an unprocessed raw data, and I'll try to open this. Okay, now you can see that it has loaded here. Okay, and if you see, does it look a clean data to you?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
No, right?
No.
It looks more of a raw data. Okay, so we should not load this directly into the Power BI. Instead, we should go to Power Query Editor to transform that, and that's what we are doing here by clicking Transform Data. And when I click on Transform Data, I'll be taken to this particular window, that is Power Query Editor. Okay. Okay. Now you can see this query has appeared here. Okay, and if you want, you can also rename this as you want. Right now it's orders 2017 unprocessed Or you can also call it something like sales 2017. Okay. You can directly double click on this and you can rename this. Now, the main thing to be noted here is that we have different types of tabs here to do the transformations. There is a home tab under which most of the options are available to do the transformation as well. There is this transform tab where you can again use some other transform functions to do the transformations. And then you have this add column tab where you can add an extra column based on your requirement. Okay, you can add some extra column based on your requirement. So this is just for adding extra columns, not doing the transformation within the same columns. That is the prime difference. In transform tab, you do the transformation with the existing data or the existing columns in the data. Whereas if you click on, or if you do something out of add columns tab, a new column will be created based on certain requirement. Okay. And then we have this other tabs also. I'll explain you about those two. But importantly, now to transform this, first let me ask you this question. Which of this, I mean, among these records, which particular row looks more like it is the column header?
Fifth row.
Fifth row, right? So apart from that, the starting 4 rows, these seem to be kind of useless rows. If you see this is just what I mean, this is what we don't need to do the analysis. So what we can do here in the home tab, we have the option to remove the unwanted rows. Okay, so under this we have certain options. You can see remove top rows, and when I click on remove top rows, it asks me how many number of rows to be removed from the top. Okay, and the answer in this particular case is 4. I don't need top 4 rows, so I'll click on 4. I mean, I'll press 4 and I'll click on OK. So now you see those 4 unwanted records are removed from this. Okay. Now, next, if you see, this is the header. We want this as a header record, not as a particular record. So there is an option here. You can see there is an option for use first row as header in this. Okay, so if you click on this particular thing, so it will promote that record as header. This thing is clear till now? Any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Upon one doubt, suppose if you give five rows by mistake, so can we revert that or?
Definitely, I'll show you that. Okay, let me go back. Can you see the steps which are created here?
Yes, yes.
Now, each step can be reverted. Okay, each step can be reverted. You can undo that. Okay, let me do that once again. Okay, what I'll do, I'll remove, let's say if I removed 5 instead of 4. Okay, so here let me press 5 instead of 4. If I did that, this step will be introduced here. Okay, now you can also alter that steps in some cases. Can you see the gear icon here?
Yes.
If you click on the gear icon, this step will be appearing like this. So instead of 5, I can press 4 and press OK, so that only 4 rows are removed. Hope that is clear.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And one more thing. So suppose if you add column, that column will be affected in that original source, or this only from this.
Whatever change you do in Power Query editor, these will be, I mean, these changes will be there in Power BI itself, not in the backend.
Okay.
Not the point. Because this data which you're seeing right now is in the Power BI desktop. Okay. It has imported this. Whatever changes you do in Power Query editor, that is specific to Power BI desktop, not the backend. Backend will never change. Okay.
Okay.
Now let me proceed with this step to make this as a header. Okay. Now if you see here, the thing is you can, as I said, you can undo particular step. There is no specific undo button which is available in Power BI. Or in Power Query Editor, like we have in some other Microsoft apps. But you can certainly click on this cross button to remove that particular step. Okay. And as and when you start doing more and more transformations, all those transformation steps will be appearing in this particular pane. Okay. Is that clear?
Okay.
And also you can rename these particular steps also as just a second. You can rename these as well to make more sense to you. Okay. For example, sometimes you let's say change some of the columns. You can mention which particular column you have changed here. Okay. Because if the number of transformation steps are more, it will become clear to you what has happened. Okay. If just by looking at the title of this particular step. Okay.
Open a.
Yes. I request everyone to kindly put yourself on mute until and unless you have any specific doubt or question to ask. Okay. Okay. Now let me show you one more thing here. If you go to view and it's specific, these three options, one is column quality. Now what happens here is that you get the information about the type of data that you have in each and every column. Now you see what it says. It has valid records. How many? 99% valid records are there. And there are empty records as well. Empty in the sense blanks. Less than 1% of these records are blanks. Okay. So this information you will get if you go to View tab, and under that, if you press on column quality, you will get this information for each and every column. Okay. Now, if you click on column distribution, you will get account of what type of values you have. I mean, how many distinct and how many unique values you have in this. Okay. In each and every column.
Here
Yeah.
distinct and unique. Unique means only one sheet is appeared, right?
Yes. I hope everyone knows the difference between distinct and unique.
Can you please explain?
Yeah, sure. Let's say it has some 1,000+ records. Okay. And among them, there are 995 distinct, means they appear more times, but the distinct is only 995 times. I mean, their total existence is total different records are 995. Okay. But 992 among them are unique. Unique in the sense they come only once in this column. Understood or not? I think no, right? Let me
Please clear it once in.
Yeah, I'll try to make sense here. Let's see. Okay, let me make it the ID column, and let me do one. Now, can you tell me how many distinct records are there in this?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 distinct records are there. Okay.
Yes.
Now, among them, how many are unique?
5,
Unique in the sense the records which appear only once.
4 and
3
5.
4.
This and
4 and
this,
5.
right? And also
3
this.
unique records.
3 unique records. This is unique, this is unique, and this is unique. I hope you got the point now.
Yes.
Did you understand?
Yes, Pawan.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So that's the difference between unique and distinct. So the information about that you'll come to know if you go to column distribution. Okay. And let's say if you use something like column profile, okay, you'll get more information about that. More information in the sense you'll get distinct and unique, but also you will get the account of some of the statistics, like what is the count of the total records, and what is the maximum value, what is the minimum value. Okay, all those things you will get in this thing. And also the distribution. Let's say there is a three, how many times it appears. Okay, all those things you will get account of if you go to column profile. Okay, and let's say if you go to something like statistic, if you can go to particular column and those value distributions will be appearing here. The information of that particular column will be appearing here. Okay. Let me show you for this. Okay. So this information you will get if you go to column profile. Okay. Now, nonetheless, we'll go to home tab again. Okay. Now the thing is, still if you see, this data is not exactly clean. Okay, it has some unwanted values. Okay, if you see, there are some blank rows. Can you see the blank rows in this? The rows which are
Yes.
completely blank. Okay,
First row is completely blank.
Yeah, first row is completely blank, and there are certain unwanted values here, like NA. Okay, and we will not want the row which has all the values as NA. Can you see this? Yeah. So we need to remove them as well to make this data more on the cleaner side. Okay. So what we can do, first of all, we can go to remove rows again. Okay. And here we can make use of this option where we can remove all the blank rows. Okay. So all the rows which are completely blank will be disappearing now. Okay. And you can see that particular step is visible here as well. Okay, so this is what we can do to remove the completely blank rows. Okay, now there are certain other problems with this. Let me show you that. If you go to certain order ID, if you look at ID number 26, okay, this particular ID, that whole row is empty. Can you see this?
Yes.
And just keeping an ID whose all the record is empty, it doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so what we can do here is, this will not go if we just click on remove blank rows, because this whole row is not blank. Order ID has certain value. So in order to get rid of this particular thing, what we can do is we can go to this drop down. Okay, and we can select that particular, or we can filter that particular order ID. And it was, I think it was 26.
You can search that.
Yeah, I can search that, but right now it's not in the number. It will search in the form of text. Okay, so there are certain complexities with that. I'll tell you later. Okay, now you can see this. This 26, I can filter it here. Okay, and now it will be gone. Okay. And similarly, we have an issue with 28 as well. Okay, so that also needs to be
if these are like millions of data, we have to do manually for this.
Come again?
Suppose if this data is like millions of data, right? But in that case, we have to do manually this case.
Yeah, if in case that millions of records of data has been sent to you, sent to you in the Power BI itself in the uncleaned form, then you have to do this. Okay, But let's be frank, if there is millions of rows in particular data, and I mean, it means that the project is bigger. And when the project is bigger, they will not do the ETL in Power BI. All this stuff will be done in the backend through some particular ETL software. Hope I'm
Yes.
okay.
So this ETL steps make
Come again, please.
so these ETL steps impact on the performance of the PBX file.
ETL
If the-
steps, yeah, look, what happens is that, let me tell you what happens in the Power BI, okay? So in import mode, what we are doing now, we are getting the data, and every time what happens is that if, let's say, you refresh the data, okay? Let's say you refresh the data. So refresh, what happens to the refreshed data? First, it comes into the Power BI, and then it goes through all these steps. Are you getting the point? Okay.
Yes.
So it is like kind of an automation is what you can think of it as. Okay. So more steps means more processing time. Agreed.
Okay, so refresh time should be greater.
Refresh time will be impacted for sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, yeah. So this is it. And also, I got rid of 28 as well. So let me check this. Okay. So done. Now the thing is, yes, please.
One minute. Can we change the data type here? Suppose column ID is
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that, please. Okay.
Okay.
It is all included in this. I'll completely clean this, and then you'll come to know what all things can be done. Okay.
Okay.
And even then, if your doubt is not clear, please, you can definitely ask. But let me go step by step. Okay. Yeah. So now, first, let me tell you what kind of data is this. This is the sales data. Okay. And sales data, basically, it is characterized by an order ID. Basically, it's like if you do some transaction in any supermarket, so your bill will be having a particular transaction number, and this is that column. Okay. And these, all the other columns are the details about that particular transaction that has happened. What is the product ID? What is the store ID? That is the store which where it happened, this particular transaction. The order date, okay, sales quantity, revenue, all the information based on the sales that has happened. Hope this thing is clear about the data set that we are using. Any doubts with this? You can have a look at the column names, and it'll be clear about what that particular column tries to tell you about. Now, what I will do is I'll try to remove this NA values as well. Okay. Now, for that, again, if I go completely at the bottom, I'll see those NA values, and I can simply filter them here. Now you see those NA values are also gone. Okay. Now, as far as this, now it seems that this particular order ID thing is clean. And why I basically used this particular column to clean is that this identifies a particular record. Let's say if some order ID is NA, it doesn't make sense what record we have it in it, because it cannot be identified. Okay. Or it cannot be got into a particular granularity mode. Okay. So that's the way with which we create, I mean, we filter the NA values, and we'll go further to next transformation steps. Okay. And as you can see here, as we are going on doing the transformations, we can see this happening here. Okay. Now, there is one more problem with this particular records. Can anyone tell that? What is that?
Duplicates.
Data redundancy.
Yeah, there are certain duplicates. Can you see this?
The 3. I mean, the 3 and 4.
Yeah. Now here we can certainly see the duplicates. Okay. But there is one thing about deleting the duplicates. let's say if you want to delete all the duplicate records, and when I say records, I mean the record from each and every column. Okay, not specific to one particular column. If you look at these values, 3 P0219 S0026, this is all similar. Okay, so these two things are completely similar. Okay, so what I need to do in this case is I should not select any particular column. Okay, and I need to go to remove rows, and I need to go to remove duplicate rows. Understood the concept?
So I just have a question here,
Mhm.
that the modification will be working row by row, right?
Not just that, the column modifications are also possible. What
Okay,
do you exactly mean when
for
you?
example, if you are deleting duplicate data, for example, order ID 3, okay? So particular order ID. So data will be deleted like row by row. For example, product ID, miscellaneous ID, store ID, and order date, all will be gone, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see, let me show you that once again. Okay. So if I go to remove rows, remove duplicates. Okay. Can you see this? The duplicates will be gone.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so this is about removing the duplicates. But one thing you should note that, let's say if you are dealing with certain column like product ID or let's say order date, you should not delete the duplicates within this. Why? Because more orders can happen on the same date. Okay. So while deleting the duplicates, you need to be careful. Hope you got the point. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll try to remove certain columns which are unnecessary for us. Let's try to check this. So you see, if you see this column has blank one NA value and there is a null. And if I try to load more, it has nothing that is useful for any analysis. So I can directly go to this column and I can use either remove column from here. Okay. Or I can also remove the same by right clicking here and remove the columns. Okay. So this there are the various ways in which you can do the similar steps in Power BI. Okay, and there is also another way to do the same in choose column option. Okay.
On here one question. If you remove that NA column, that values will be differ, right? Then remaining columns.
Come again.
So if you remove the NA value, right?
Uh-huh.
Column. So the columns will move up and the data will be mismatched, right, with the order ID. Suppose after NA we have one value, right? Below. So if you remove NA column, then the below column will move to up, right, in place of NA. Then the values will mismatch, right?
No. Listen, if I filter out something from this, that particular, I mean, whole record will be gone. Okay, not in that particular column. Data mismatch, I mean, the row mismatch will never happen. Am I clear?
If you remove fourth row, will completely remove, na?
Yes, I'll show you that. We filtered certain rows. Look here. This NA you are talking about, right?
That I can understand. Pawan, here column is there, na? Miscellaneous data detail NA is there, na?
Yes. Okay.
To remove that NA column, na, then how will affect the data?
Let me show you. If I remove that NA, first let me check what was specific to that NA. 4. Okay.
Correct.
If I remove this, that 4 will disappear. Okay. But you don't want this thing to happen. Got the point?
Correct.
Okay. So what I can do, if this column is useless, I can directly remove this column as a whole. Okay. So I was telling you one more way in which you can delete the column. I showed you this. You can use this as well. Also, you can use one more thing, that is choose columns.
Okay. If you have
And
other values, then we cannot delete, right?
come again, please. If
Here
you have,
only one. Here only one NA is there. That's why we are deleting this column. If you have another values for another records, then we cannot delete, right?
let's say, okay. See, the main reason why I'm trying to delete this is that there is nothing useful in here. And also, this is named miscellaneous detail, and we don't even know what type of detail it is. And the values which we have here are
Yes.
in no way useful for us to do any kind of analysis.
Correct.
Agreed. So that's the reason I'm trying to delete this.
Okay.
Got the point. Now, I'll show you one more way in which you can delete. Okay. If you go to choose columns, within that, if you go to choose columns here, okay. Now, if you see every column is chosen, and if you unselect this particular column, that will be deleted.
Okay.
Got the point?
Right.
Okay. So yes.
Pawan, I think he's trying to say that, for example, in miscellaneous details, apart from NA, we have some data, some numeric values or something else, right? So in that particular thing, can we delete, like here, for example, you just filtered the NA, or so can we delete a particular column? Then we don't, right?
Okay. Let me try to be more specific in this. Okay. So whenever you get any data from the business end, okay, you will also be getting a required document related to that data, like it's called, sometimes it's called BRD, FRD, or even TDD. And there you will be having metadata about the data which you have here. Now the metadata is the data which gives you information about each and every column.
Correct.
Okay. And in that metadata, this thing will be mentioned. Which column is giving you what? Got the point? So if it's useless, first of all, it will not be included there. Okay. But even if it's included, and if you feel it's useless, then you can definitely go to look at its information from metadata. Even there, if it's not mentioned, you can directly send a mail to business end and ask them whether this column is necessary or not. I hope this is clear now.
Yes, no, it is. Thank you.
So this is about this thing. So let me simply remove this. Okay. And also let me have a look at some other columns wherever there is the columns which can be removed. Okay. Now if I go to this particular column, that also has all the blank values. So this is also not necessary. And if I have a look at this one, discount, all the values are NA. So it also doesn't make any sense. So what I can do is I can select these two together and I can directly delete them. Okay. But let's say there is another option that is available. If you want all the other columns apart from these two to be deleted, that also you can accomplish by using this option, remove other columns. Now you see all the other columns are removed. Okay, instead of that. So there are various ways to achieve a single thing in Power BI. Okay, but let me just delete these two. Remove columns. Okay. Now, also, let me show you one more thing that is possible in this. You can always reposition the column with respect to where it exactly is, like this. Okay, but if you do that, that also will be introduced as a particular transformation step. Okay, like this. Okay, reposition the position of the columns. Okay, that you can do. Anyways, I'm not doing that because this is what I use just for showing that. Okay. So any doubt with respect to what has been done till now?
So far, so good.
Can you explain about choose column option?
Sure. Okay. See here there are more options. Okay. Let's say if I go to choose columns, okay, and if I don't want certain columns, like let's say you know the name of the columns that you don't want from the data. So what you can do, you can filter them here only. Okay, like this. And only those columns will be available here. Got the point?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And also there's one more option. Let me show you that as well. If you go to choose columns, there's one more option, go to a column. Now here, let's say when I'll tell you when this will be helpful. This will be helpful when let's say that there are more number of columns. For example, in one of our previous projects, the number of columns were 75. So if there are 75 columns, and if you want to go to a particular column, that also becomes a kind of a tedious process. Okay, because you need to go from left to right searching for that particular column. And that is not so helpful when the number of columns are more. So in that particular scenario, what you can do is you can go to choose columns, and here you need to select this go to column. Okay, and if I click on a particular column here for say promotion type and click on OK, I'll be taken to that particular column will be highlighted. Understood the point?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So these are the various options that are available. Okay, and this is how we basically clean our records. Okay, I'll show more steps, but let me just check whether the necessary cleaning in terms of this thing is done. So there are no blanks or the NA values which are there in this. And let me check. The duplicates are also gone. Yeah. Yes.
I
Please.
have one question. In order ID column, so I can see that that type of column is text, right? So now, as we can see that
Yeah,
text
I'll
is
come to that.
removed. Okay.
I'll come to that. Okay.
Okay.
The data type changing. I'm coming to that itself right now. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Now, so let's move on to the data types that are available in the Power BI. Okay. Now, if you see at the left portion of each and every column, something is mentioned, an icon wherein in this particular case there is ABC. Okay. And yeah, in every column it's ABC, because we have, if you remember, while doing the options and settings, we asked Power BI not to detect any data types. And if you don't select that, I mean, if you allow it to detect the data types, it will also detect the data types. But I specifically did that because we wanted to specifically set the data types by ourselves. Okay, so how that can be done, you can highlight this column and click on this particular icon here. Can you see this data type text? And you can mention a particular data type, but there is also a simpler way. You can simply click on this ABC icon, and here also you can select the data type. Okay, and here the data types that are available are decimal number, fixed decimal number. Difference between fixed decimal number and decimal number is that in fixed decimal number, you will have only 2 to 4 decimal points generally. Okay, whereas if you select decimal number, there'll be the number of decimal points will be huge. Okay, and it will not be aesthetic. Okay, and then there is whole number, there's percentage, the date time, date data, time data, text data, and true or false binary data, and all these things are available as different data types. For now, what I'll do, I'll mention the data type of order ID as whole number. Okay, and if you see, that also is recorded here. That particular step is recorded in this particular scenario. Is that clear?
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, next what I'll do is, I'll try to change the data types of other columns. Okay. Now, first of all, here, what I'll try to do is, I'll try to change the data type of the order date. Okay. So for that, I'll have to click on this and I'll have to make it date. Okay. So see, it is clearly happened. All the records in this are basically the date values now. Okay. Here. Now, next thing what I'll do is I'll move on to, there is one more date column, which is called delivery date. Okay. And I'll try to do it same here. Okay. I'll try to do same with here. But if I have a clear look at this, can you see the errors in this?
Yes.
Okay. There are certain errors in this, and that is due to the fact that sometimes the format of the data which is there in this and the region which we have selected. Can you remember the region which we selected in the initial files and settings? US is what we selected. Okay. And sometimes this doesn't match here. So the format, due to format mismatch, this can happen. Okay. So in this particular scenario, what we can do is, instead of doing this for this particular delivery date, what we can do, we can go to this here and we can go to using local. And here we need to select the date. Okay. And instead of English United States, you try to select some European country like UK. You try to change the locale because the format might be different. And if you do this, now you see those errors will be usually gone. Okay. Hope this is clear.
Why you choose UK European time?
Because the format, see, in US, the format is like month, day, and year. Okay. But in most of the European countries, it is like day, month, and year. Okay. So this, yeah.
So in that case, I need a US data format only. Then that error columns we can change the format type, or how can?
No, specific cell transformation is not available in Power BI.
Okay.
Are you getting the point? Like Excel, in Excel, you can go to each and every record, click, I mean, you can replace that, okay? Or you can edit that. Here, you cannot do that. You cannot edit by clicking like this, okay?
Okay.
So the cell transformations are not available, okay?
Mhm.
And now, if you see, when I basically canceled the previous step, the earlier change of the data type which had happened, that has also been cancelled. Why it has happened? If you do similar transformations, Power BI, what it does, it groups all those transformations in a single step. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
So I need to go here again. I need to make this whole number, and I need to go here again, and I need to make this date. Got the point, everyone?
Yes, yes. We cannot save each one after one column updated type change, then we can do another one.
Obviously, it will be available here, but if some error happens, and if you want to undo this, if you see, it has grouped two steps. Two steps in the sense order ID as well as date. So if you, I mean, if you delete this, both the steps will be disappearing. Okay.
Correct.
Similar transformation steps will be saved, I mean, grouped and saved together. Okay. So this is about, yes.
Just a small question. So in this like data, so is it a mandatory step we need to change data type, or it will be fine if we will not change?
Look, first of all, as I said, whenever you get the data, okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to, even if the data is supplied by the data engineer himself, which is supposed to be completely clean and devoid of any errors, even in that scenario, you need to go to the Power Query editor and you need to check whether there are any inconsistencies. And if there are inconsistencies, some of the inconsistencies will be visible. Okay. Or as I showed you earlier, you can go to this column quality, and there you can get the account of this. Can you see this now? These are
Yes,
100%
now.
valid, and error, there is 0% error, 0% empty. This is how it should be for a perfect data, right? And you can also go on and have a look at each and every column, whether the data type which is mentioned, if it makes sense. If it doesn't, then the first thing that you need to do is you need to ask the data engineer that whether he can accomplish it from the back end or you can do it here. Generally, what they do everything from the back end. Okay, so that the number of steps in the Power Query editor are reduced. Okay, but if they want you to do here, you can do here as well. That's the point.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, so we have to go column by column to changing the data type, or we, instead of this, we should change the data type in one go.
You can
Suppose we
select
have
multiple
more than
columns and
100
change the
columns.
data type in one go. If the data type is same, you can just select the multiple columns in one go and change the data type as well. Clearly.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Then, yeah. Now, we'll try to change the data type of price. And price, if you see here, it should be, it basically should be the decimal number. Or let me make it fixed decimal number. Okay. But if I try going here, let me see is there any error with that? Now you see there is an error. Can you see this? And if I go here, it says something cannot be converted to number. There is a value which cannot be converted to number. Okay. And to again go into the gist of it, first let me cancel this. Okay. And again, I'll go to the price column. Look, if an error happens, this particular red sign will be visible below that column. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let us see why that particular error has happened. Okay. But for that, we need to again cross this. Let us cross this, not a problem. Okay. We'll do it once again. But let's see why that error is for. If you look into price column, and if we look into all the values, can you see this NA value here?
Right.
Now, we'll try to see what is that NA for, or what are the respective records in that particular NA. Okay, so there are certain records where the price is not at all mentioned. Okay, and instead of price, there is NA. But the fact is that if you try to change the NA, which is string, to a number or decimal number, you will definitely get a error. Understood the point?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So here, first of all, what we need to do is we need to replace this particular value. We need to replace this particular value with something else. Okay. So how that can be done? So what I'll do is I'll first clear this filter which I applied. Okay. So I'll select this particular column and I'll go to the replace values. Okay. Can you see this? There is the replace values here. And Power BI asks me, which value do you want to find? The value which needs to be replaced is NA. And what I want to replace it with, I want to replace it with a blank. The blank is not a problem. Okay. So I'll click on this. Okay. Now I've replaced that particular value. Now, instead of NAs, can you see there are blanks now? And if now I go on to do that particular transformation, that is converting this to a fixed decimal number, I will not get any error. Okay. But I will get a black sign. Do you know what this black sign means? It means blank values. Okay. Or empty values. Empty values are not a problem. but errors are definitely a problem. Hope this point is understood by everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So again, let me see if there are any other transformations that are available. Okay, this is already there, but yeah, this whole number, and then order date as a date, and that's about it. Let me check the stock column before converting that to any data type. If let's say there are any NA values, then I'll have to check earlier. Okay. So that there's no such thing with this. I'll simply convert this to, let's say, whole number, the stock that is available. Okay. And then let me check onto revenue column.
We can search in spawn here.
Yeah, now I'll tell you, let's say, if I search in text itself, it will search it as a text. And the thing about text is that each text has a particular bit value. So instead of searching that, it will search a bit value. It will act like that. Okay.
Then it will be the text type. If I have suppose many columns, then each column you have to select like this, load more, all these things. Then
No. If it's a particular text column itself and the values are also text, then you can certainly search there. Not a problem. Okay.
No.
So here, let me make it fixed decimal number here as well. So this thing certainly makes sense.
How about that empty rows in price column? Does it indicate something like that order itself got returned or cancelled?
See, it means the data has not been entered for those particular records. Okay. But if there are certain blanks like this we have in price, you can certainly ask the business end why those are blanks. Okay. The business end certainly will have certain values there. And if the business end says let it be blank, then it's okay. Okay. The thing about data analytics is that you don't decide anything for yourself which is legit and which is not. Okay. If you have any particular doubt about the data, then you need to ask data engineer or business head. Hope that makes sense.
Correct.
Okay. So after this, what we can do is we'll try to yeah, this is okay. This is also fine. And now, if you see this particular column, sales quantity, okay, this we definitely cannot convert directly into a number, because what will happen, this also has a string, right?
Correct.
So that will affect the particular step that you apply. Okay. So in order to have only this 0, then what we can do? Any ideas?
Split the columns.
We can split the column and delete the second occurrence.
And we can do many things, but in this particular scenario, what I'll do is I'll try to replace certain thing. Okay. I'll select this column. I'll say replace values. And what I'll replace space sales with nothing. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So now what I can do, I can go on to make it sales quantity, which is supposed to be a whole number. Okay. Now this transformation has been achieved. Okay. And also let me check on other columns now whether everything makes sense. Order ID is a number, prod ID is a combination of string and number, which is supposed to be ABC. Store ID is also the same, so it is ABC. Order date is correct. Sales quantity is correct. Revenue is, it makes sense. Price is also correct. Promotion type, bin, and this. So all of this is correct now. Okay. So
Sales, just one question.
yeah,
The sales quantity, is that refers to total number of items in basket, or
sales quantity, yes, the total number of items that were purchased. Okay. Is it clear?
yes, it is.
Okay. So now we'll try to explore a few more options in this. Okay. And for that, I'll try to bring one more table. And to bring the table, you can go to you can close and apply these steps and go to Power BI desktop and again go to get data as we did for this. Or within Power Query editor itself, you can go to a new source. Let me do that. New source and let's say text and CSV. Okay. So what I'll try to get is I'll try to get one more table into this, which gives me the account of the locations of stores. Okay. And I'll simply click on OK because we are already in the Power Query editor. So transform data button will not be there. Okay. So I'll click on OK. Now the store locations are here. I'll try to rename it as simply location, or yeah, store location itself makes sense. So and the first thing that we need to do here, any guesses? It's so evident. Yes, anyone?
Column header.
Make the
First,
first column as
first row as a
header.
header.
We need to use first column as headers. Okay. We need to use first thing as header. Okay. And again, here, if you look at the store size, okay, actually the store size should be a measure. It basically should be a number. Okay. Here, if you see, every dimension or the unit is same, square meter, or it's represented as meter square. Okay. But this should be a number, or basically this should be a decimal value. And for that, we need to get rid of that. Okay. And as earlier, we can make use of replace values, replace that space and m square with nothing. But if you see here, there is not just m square, there is also qm. Okay. So in this particular scenario, this replace thing also will not work. So what you need to do is you need
Two
to
times we can do, right?
come again.
Sorry to interrupt. Two times you can do, right? Replace values, space m square one time, and again second time space qm also we can do, right?
Can be done, but there is one more option that is more simpler than this. Okay.
Okay.
Let me show you that. I can go to transform tab. Okay. And in transform tab, there is an option to extract. Okay. And if I click on extract, I have various options that are available. I can extract the length of a particular, a particular string. And if I extract the length of the string, that length will be visible here. I can manage to extract some first characters. It asks me how many characters I want to extract like this. Okay, the count of that. I don't want that. What I want here is I want to extract the text before delimiter. And do you know what the delimiter in this particular case is?
Space.
Space. So I'll click on text before delimiter. And the delimiter I will mention is space. Okay. And once I do that, you see, only this particular number is extracted. Okay. And now here I can go on and make this a, let me check whether to make it a whole number or a decimal number. But since it's a area, I can also make it decimal, fixed decimal. Okay. So this is how we can use.
Suppose, Pawan, if you want to measure, metric also, then we need to split that something. Suppose if 19 means what we can measure, like yards or square meters. What?
Here I can mention.
Okay.
Clear, right?
Right.
Now,
How about the case where we have like multiple scales? So are we going to transform it to common
I
scale
got
first
the
and
point.
then?
You mean to say if something is in centimeter square and something is in SQ meter, like
Exactly.
that, right? Usually you will not face such scenarios. Okay, and if that thing is there, then it will definitely be taken care by ETL. Okay, but usually data is not that inconsistent. Okay, because the transaction systems which in which this particular data is collected also has some particular type of format. Okay, so you can be sure that it will not be that random. Okay. Yeah.
Like, if it's a case, like, do we have any option to get rid over here on Power BI?
The problem with this is that in that scenario, let's say if it is centimeter square and if you want to bring it into meter square, you cannot multiply only certain records with a particular value. Are you getting the point? You can either multiply this whole column with certain numbers.
I think we have some logic there in Excel. I don't recall the exact formula as of now.
See, as I said,
So,
in Excel, you have cell transformations. You can edit those particular cells. You can write the formula then and there in that particular cell. Hope you remember that, right? But in Power BI, the transformation that you do will be applied either for whole column or for whole row. Okay, cell transformations are not available in Power BI. Is that clear?
no, the problem is like when we have like let's say like millions of records available. So I don't think it will be easy to diagnose each one of them and convert it. So
yes, I agree. Okay, so that's the reason this ETL part in big projects, or mainly these will be handled by the data engineers only. Okay, and if the data is that random, you can directly question the business end itself. So this is the limitation that we have, and this cannot be done from the Power BI end. Okay, because if you think about that, how are you even going to achieve that particular thing if there are millions of rows, right? You cannot go on to do each and every multiplication like
no, of course we cannot go and specify it. But if we have like scale defined like centimeter and meter, so I think if we have some logic, I was just looking for if we have already have some logic over here on Power
the
BI.
logics are there, but logics can be applied to whole column. As I'm saying, logics will not be applied to only particular cells. Okay, in this scenario. Okay, yeah, yes, the filtering of records can be done, but not on the Power Query editor, but on DAX. You can do it through DAX. Okay, but yeah, this kind of scenario generally we will not face, because the data will not be that random as to that particular scale. Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I think it's already time. So any doubt you have with respect to the things that have been covered today?
Pawan, just you have given this column name, right? Store size, then bracket. So
Yes.
that is not legit, right? I mean, in SQL, bracket and all.
That is not legit in which sense I'm asking.
And I mean, suppose if you are querying, I mean, select star from, select this particular column.
Yeah. I got the point. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed. In SQL, there's a particular naming convention that needs to be followed, but here there is no such restriction in this particular case.
Okay.
And anyways, if I change it here, the backend data is not going to change, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but after that, again, we are doing some SQL things to get the graphs and the tiles. No.
Yes. Okay. Let me tell you. If you do some changes from SQL and from the backend, whenever you refresh the data, all these steps will be applied again. So what you do here stays only here in the Power BI, not in SQL. Okay.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. Any further more doubts, people?
Cell alignment is there, Pawan? Column alignment, like this much space would no need that center or left or right, those things, or
Which one?
column alignment, like format. Suppose store ID is there, na? It's a small length, so the space is
Yeah,
unnecessarily.
look, store ID, if a particular data type is of string, that will be aligned towards the left, okay,
Correct.
in Power Query Editor. If certain data type is a measure or a number, basically, it will be aligned to the right. This is not in your hand, okay? That's how Power BI does it, okay?
Okay. That length also we cannot move, or this one. After store ID length is there, some space that we can move.
See, it is not, I mean, I'm not able to move it right now, but it is available, okay? It is available. I know that it's available. Okay. Anything apart from this?
One more question, Pawan, here. Suppose after transformation completion, we can click on close and apply right button.
I'll
After
close
that,
and apply. Okay, just a second.
after that, okay.
Yes. Now.
Now, if you open that same file,
if you save this file, okay, let me say this. If I first, let me save this file. Let me save it as okay. Class 2. Okay, this thing is blocking my web here. Class 2 PBX, and yeah, and basically I'll browse this device and I'll save it as a class 2 PBIX. Okay, so I'll save it. Okay, and if you save and open it again, all those steps will be applied. Okay.
Okay. After that, if you do any changes again, it will affect the change step only. It will take time, or it will go all the steps again.
If you let me do it once again. Okay, let me go to transform data. Those steps will already be there, and the new steps will be below that. Okay.
Correct. If you change one column data type and then you can refresh the data.
Yes.
It will take from the starting steps, or it will only that change step only. It will take refresh. Time consuming, like it will. See, suppose if you
time consuming in the sense. Okay, let me tell you that. Right now, the data is in the Power BI.
Correct.
Okay, and the time consuming will happen only the first time it is applying the steps. Okay, but next time these steps will already be applied. Correct. But when it will affect, if you try to refresh the data, these steps will be applied again, because you are refreshing the data, because let's say there are more number of records, right? So for all those records also, it will apply these steps. Okay, so then for refreshing it will take time, but if you're simply opening a Power BI file, this will already, these steps will already be stored, so that won't affect the, I mean, hinder the performance.
Okay. If you refresh, then it will take.
Yes, sure. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll share the data sets as well as the final PBX with you, so you can practice on your own. Okay.
That material also you can share, Pawan. That I mean, hands-on
material.
Notes type. This is the only, na?
This one.
This one and any other hands-on material, like anything is there.
I'll do one thing. I'll create one more kind of a messy data. You can try cleaning yourself with the applied steps that we did today. That will be helpful.
Yeah. That one, and the superstore sales, is that also you can share? No? Sure,
I'll share. Okay. Okay. Fine then.
Material also you can share, na? I mean, the detailed description is there, na? That storage, all those things that we can also share. Na?
No, can you be more specific? Which detailed description?
Suppose you are explaining with PPT plain, right? That is
Yes.
the only data you have, or any other material type hands-on, like we can refer some more detail.
See,
like
actually, the preparing hands-on data step by step is very difficult here. I mean, if I go on writing each and every step, that becomes a very huge document. So, in order to just look at the steps that we have performed, you can definitely go through the recording, right? This recording will be available for you.
yes, that we can note it on notes.
Okay.
You can share that PPT also, or with for you only that PPT?
I'll share the PPTs, not a problem. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. So first I'll stop the recording.